Today we are going to do dividing polynomials not in standard form. Also things that might appear today is where you'll have a missing step in the sequence, where you'll have a missing term. So let's look at this first problem. Problem 1, in the first parenthesis, we're going to focus in on this first. The terms are not in order. That means that exponents are not descending from greatest to least. So step 1 is to get that parenthesis in order from least to greatest to least. So this is my first term, 6x cubed. My second term is a negative, so I'm going to put minus 4x squared. My third term plus 44x. And my fourth term is at plus 78. And so I'm just taking the sign that happens to be in front of it, and that's the sign that goes in front when you rearrange. And divided by. Now looking in the second parenthesis, I need to do the same thing. Going down from my x's. So the first term is that 6x. If it happened to have a minus sign in front of it, I'd bring it forward with a negative. Plus 8. Now I can do the long division like we were doing yesterday. So 6x plus 8 will divide into 6x cubed minus 4x squared plus 44x plus 78. So first step is to look at this 6x. What do I need to multiply it by to get 6x cubed? I need to multiply it by x squared. So x squared times 6x plus 8 results in 6x cubed plus 8x squared. Now I'm going to subtract it, just like we were doing yesterday. So we're going to subtract this whole term. 6x cubed minus 6x cubed cancels out, giving you 0. A negative 4x squared minus 8x squared, a positive 8x squared, is going to be a negative 12x squared plus 44x. Now for this next one, I'm looking to see what number do I need to multiply 6 by to get to 12, negative 12. I need to multiply it by negative 2, and to get an x squared, I need to multiply it by x. So negative 2x times 6x plus 8 is negative 12x squared minus 16x and I am going to subtract it just like what I was doing before. So when I subtract it, I have a negative 12x squared minus a negative 12x. That's going to change to a plus. And that's going to give me a 0. That cancels out. That first term should always cancel out, or you've done something incorrect. And so I now have a positive 44x minus a negative 16. So that's going to change to a plus, giving me 60x plus 78. So what do I need to multiply my 6x in order to come up with 60x? I need to multiply it by 10. So when I multiply it by 10, I get 60x plus 80. So now I'm going to subtract 60x minus 60x cancels out, giving me 0. 78 minus 80 gives me a negative 2. So my remainder is this negative 2. You're always going to put a plus sign, and then you're going to do the remainder as a negative 2 in the numerator divided by 6x plus 8. But we're not done. The bottom can factor out, and so we're going to have to take and just focus in on the remainder. And we're doing the remainder in fraction form today, just to show you the other form of remainders. So, negative 2 divided by 6x plus 8. So the denominator can factor out a 2, giving me 3x plus 4 and a negative 2. That can reduce, leaving me just with a 1. So my remainder really isn't this. It is negative 1 over 3x plus 4. Now that we're done, we can adjust our signs. And you can, since that negative sign stayed, you can go ahead and change that to a minus. So let's do one other one. This is the other thing that can happen. Besides it being out of order partly, we don't have an x squared term. So we need to rewrite it to where every term is accounted for. And so we have 3a cubed minus, well, we need to have that x squared. So I can either add or subtract this. It doesn't really matter which way I go. And my x squared, well, if I put an x squared there, it changes the problem. So I need to put it as a 0x squared in order not to change the problem. And the only reason I had this here, or not x, excuse me, a, 0a squared minus 6a minus 18. You have to have every term accounted for, otherwise you'll have glitches with your division. And now we're going to put the second parenthesis in order from least to greatest, or greatest to least on exponents, 3a minus 6. Now it's time for my long division. 3a minus 6, and we're going to divide the next parenthesis by 3a cubed plus 0a squared minus 6a minus 18. First thing I'm going to look at is that first term. I need to multiply 3a by a squared in order to get 3a cubed. So a squared times 3a minus 6 gives me 3a cubed minus 6a squared. I'm going to subtract. And so when I subtract 3a squared minus 3a cubed minus 3a cubed, that cancels out, giving me 0. And 0 minus a negative 6 gives me a positive 6a cubed minus 6a. So now on this next step, what do I need to multiply 3a by in order to get 6a, assuming that's supposed to be squared here, 6a squared? Well, I need to multiply it by 2a, so plus 2a. So 2a times 3a minus 6, giving me 6a squared minus 12a I'm going to subtract that. So when I subtract it, it's going to be minus and a plus. 6a squared minus 6a squared is 0. Negative 6a plus 12a is a positive 6a minus 18. And then my last set, I need to multiply it by just 2 this time, because the a doesn't need to change. And so 2 times 3a minus 6 gives me 6a minus 12. When I subtract, 6a minus 6a is 0. Negative 18 minus a negative 12 is going to be negative 18 plus 12, which is negative 6. So my remainder is at negative 6 over 3a minus 6. Before I say that's my final answer, I need to go back over and check see if I can factor anything out. In my denominator, I can factor out a 3, and that can reduce, giving me a negative 2 over a minus 2. So rewriting my remainder, because it's plus and negative, I'm going to go ahead and write the minus sign. 2a minus 2. And so one of the things that we're working on this lesson is no longer writing our remainder as like negative 6. We're actually going to fraction form, which is the other form for writing your remainders.